Hi, my name is Sadaf. I love DIYs and this is my channel. So for my first ever DIY on this channel, I'm going to be making a woven pendant light. Not exactly the same as I just showed you, something similar to that though. I started with this metal frame. You can find similar ones on Amazon. I started by wrapping some raffia around the bottom piece of the frame. The raffia that I'm using is this type of twisted one. It is quite available in my country, but if you don't find it, you can use jute or twine or something similar. And I just kept on wrapping. This is pretty time consuming, but it's easy, so I just did this while watching TV shows. And then I moved to the pieces that are, you could say it's side pieces maybe. I don't know what else to call them. The pieces that make the height of the frame. I just tied a knot and made sure to leave the, hanging part, the free part that you can see right next to my frame, and wrap the raffia around that piece as well to have a cleaner look. When I got to the top part of my frame, I wrapped it around a couple times, and then I wrapped the raffia around the whole height of the frame. Then I wrapped it around the top piece a couple more times, and then again I did it with the whole height of the frame. I made sure to leave about 1 centimeter gap between the two pieces that I was going around the whole thing, and I just kept on doing this for the whole frame. I should mention English is my third language, so if I don't make sense here and there or if I'm babbling, just excuse me and ignore it, please. And then I started using this type of raffia. You can find this one on Amazon, I'm sure. I cut a long piece, folded it in half, and wrapped it around one of the, I'm just gonna call them side pieces. I don't know what else to call them. One of the side pieces. I then twisted the raffia around itself, and when you twist them, the top piece goes to the bottom piece goes to top, and then I wrapped it around the next side piece. I then twisted it again and did the same thing. When you do this, it creates this sort of like a knot effect, kind of. It's a type of weaving, I'm just not sure what it's called. As you can see, I use my fingers to keep it in place and just make it look nice and tidy. And I just kept on weaving. When my first row was over, I just did the same thing again and continued weaving for 2 rows. You can do less or you can do more. It's optional. I did 2 rows at the top and then 2 at the bottom. And when I was done with that, I moved to the middle section and I did a couple more rows in the middle. I'm holding the raffia with my fingers here because if I don't, it's going to slide. And just holding it with your fingers makes it easier. And then when you weave one row, it's just secure and it doesn't move as much and it becomes easier. Like I said, it's optional. You can do as many rows as you would like. When I was done with the row, I just cut the raffia, and then the remaining piece I just went under and over the side pieces, just between the rows, so it created this clean look and you couldn't really see them at the end. As you can see, it looks pretty seamless. And then when my raffia was short, I would just add a long piece right next to the short piece, just like that. Just put it right there, and then I would keep on just weaving with 3 pieces. Whenever the short piece was done, I would just cut it and keep weaving with the 2 pieces, the new one and the other piece. I'm just weaving it. Those 2 pieces are right next to each other, and this other piece was short as well, so I added another piece next to that one. Right now I'm weaving with 4 pieces, but soon the shorter pieces are gonna be over. You can cut the little bit of extra that remains there, and the rest of the weaving is just the same. I just did this weaving. This is very repetitive, but it makes this beautiful pendant light. I'm just cutting the extra pieces here, and then when I was done with the whole frame, I had to ask my husband to hold the frame, hold it for me to film, because I couldn't do it when it was hung on the ceiling. And you can see it in a minute. I love the way it looks. It looks beautiful and different than other pieces that I had seen. For the second project, I wanted to create this woven placemat. It has this whitewashed vintagey look that I love. I cut a piece of felt, a round piece of felt. I folded it twice and marked the center. I'm using this piece of rope. You can find ones that are made of seagrass, I think. This is a natural rope. I soaked it in water for a couple minutes so it was soft, and then I let it sit out so it wasn't like soaking, and I could glue it. And I used hot glue. I started from the middle piece, like the center that I had just marked, and used some hot glue and started just gluing the rope on top of the felt, making sure to be super clean. I didn't want any of the felt showing, any of the glue showing. I've seen other seagrass ropes on Amazon. This is kind of like a braided one. The ones I saw on Amazon were twisted, I think. It's not the same, but they're kind of similar. They can give the, same kind of look. If you like this one. And this is quite easy. You can do this very quickly. Just make sure to glue the rope on felt properly and make it look super clean. And this is how it's looking. As you can see, it looks pretty clean. No glue, no felt is seen. When I got to the bottom, I just glued it and just cut the rest of it so it looked kind of clean-ish. You can see the fold. So I was happy with that. And then you can just leave it under a rug or something to dry, and it dries flat. I mixed some white acrylic paint with some water and just started painting the placemat. I just painted the whole thing with this watered down paint, making sure to get the paint in all the, grooves. And then I used a piece of paper towel and cleaned some of the paint. I realized that my paint was too watered down, so I mixed some more paint, this time with less water, and just did the same thing again. Just painted it and then cleaned some of the water, and then I started using this stain. This is the only type of stain that we can find in our country, but you can probably use a gel stain, I think. And I just rubbed some of the stain on top of the placemat, and it creates this effect. It is very beautiful. I love the vintage sort of rustic look that it has. And again, you can add as much stain as you would like, make it as dark or leave it as light as you would like. And this is the finished result. I quite like this one. And then for my last project, I wanted to create a vintage looking frame. I started with this plasticky frame that I had. I just sanded it so it was ready to paint, cleaned it, and started painting it with some gold acrylic paint. I just painted it once. It was quite patchy, so I had to do a second coat. But this is the easiest project out of the three. This is after one coat. It's quite patchy, as you can see. And then I gave it a second coat and let it dry. Then when the frame was dry, I started applying some stain again. This is the same stain, it's just runnier this time. I applied some stain to the frame, and after a couple seconds, I just cleaned it. You can clean it as much as you would like, making it lighter, or you can leave the stain on it and it looks darker and more vintage looking. And I just did this exact same process a couple times all around the frame until I got the look that I liked. The more details that your frame has, it's gonna show the stain and the dark parts more. My frame was quite simple, but it still had a little bit of detail, and I quite like the finished product. This is honestly super easy, but it looks beautiful, and this is how it looked.